Guys, how are we? How is everybody? Welcome in to Slaughterhouse Sports, and we are live here, and we're going to try to have, some fun on this channel and doing this thing, all right? So, without fervor and without it being an ado, let's talk about the Pittsburgh Steelers. So the Pittsburgh Steelers, what's ending up transpiring between the Steelers right now is that they're in a rut, okay? They have lost 3 straight football games. They've lost to the Philadelphia Eagles, they've lost to the Baltimore Ravens, and they've lost to the Kansas City Chiefs. And they've all lost in humiliating fashion. So, this is kind of what happens with the NFL. Like some of these teams like Denver, some of these teams like the Pittsburgh Steelers, they benefit from their schedule being easier. And at the beginning of the year, the Steelers were able to, they beat the Chargers when Justin Herbert wasn't there, and they were able to beat a whole bunch of these teams. And I'm going to read you their schedule, and then we're going to get really honest tonight with the Pittsburgh Steelers, because I like a lot of people that are involved in the Pittsburgh Steelers organization. So tonight's going to be an examination. Like, we're going to compliment the Steelers, but we're also going to be really, really real about the Pittsburgh Steelers tonight as well. So I think that Steelers fans will like this video. I think that some NFL fans will like it. I think fans of college football will like it. All right. So the Pittsburgh Steelers, I now have their full schedule of games up there. Going to tell you a snapshot of how they've done and really show you where they're at this point in the year. All right. So they have a sloppy preseason, right? And then Justin Fields is their starting quarterback. So first game of the year, they go on the road. Remember, 6 field goals, Chris Boswell. They end up beating the Falcons 18-10. Then they play the Broncos. They win that game, all right? And that's Bo Nix. That's early season Bo Nix. They benefit from that. They play a really good defensive game. Against the Chargers, Herbert gets injured. They have a really good second half, and they win. Justin Fields then plays in the Colts game and has some turnovers. Their defense gets sliced and diced by Joe Flacco in the second half of that game. Very bad loss. Then they put in Justin Fields again against the Cowboys. They have like 4 turnovers, including a couple interceptions of Dak Prescott. They should go out there and win the game, but they do not. They lose it. Then Justin Fields plays his final game starting against the Raiders, 32-13 win against the Raiders. At that point, they're 4-2. Then insert Russell Wilson. They have the big game against the Jets. Great second half. They crushed the New York Giants 26-18. All right. And then Russ goes into Washington, plays the Skins. All right. Amazing second half to get to 7-2 on the year. Then they beat the Ravens, okay, to get to 8-2. And that is their watermark. That is the pinnacle. That's the highest of the high, right? That's how great the season got. Was right after Baltimore. They were 8-2, one of the best teams in the NFL. So then the season comes crashing down. The loss at Cleveland is just a loss you can't have. Terrible in the first half of that game. They allowed Jameis Winston in that game to absolutely slice up their passing attack defensively. And that's when Jameis was red hot. So they split the Browns. They beat the Browns the following week. They beat the Steelers, and then they beat the Browns. So they were 10-3 by the time this schedule happened. Really, when I look at Pittsburgh, their best wins on the season are the Washington game, and then their other best win is at home against the Ravens, where their defense played great. The point is, when they're in the playoffs, their defense is not going to play well enough to win 3 games. Hell, their defense is not going to play well enough to win 1 game. All right? The Ravens are most likely going to win the division, and then the Steelers, with this 11-win record, are most likely going to have to go to either Houston or they're going to have to go to Baltimore again and play a third consecutive game against the Ravens. The reason why the Steelers have always failed is because they have never had a passing game that can compete with the AFC's best. They've been trotting out Kenny Pickett the last couple of years. They've been trotting out Mason Rudolph. And now this year they have Russell Wilson. And Russell Wilson has been a little bit better than some of the quarterbacks that they've had. So I'll give Sashi Khan, I'll give the GM credit for that. But in the AFC, you need a quarterback that can play at a top 15 level. And Russell Wilson just isn't throwing the ball across the yard. He's not taking this offense to the next level. And Arthur Smith is not getting this offense to the next level. And Najee Harris on the ground is not that type of running back that can carry an offensive team. And it's all an offensive issue because they have a good pass. They have good pass rushers, all right? But then the back end of their secondary does not do well. So every year they start out pretty well every year, but then as they get later in the year, they lose steam. And they lose steam because they're starting out really physical at the beginning of the year, but they haven't adapted to a 17-game schedule. So they don't have anything left when the rubber hits the road late in the year. And they also don't have a quarterback in this AFC that can compete because they're constantly against C.J. Stroud. You're constantly against Lamar Jackson. You're against Mahomes. You're against Josh Allen. You're never going to have the best quarterback, and it's not close. So you need the defensive line to be elite. You need the secondary to not get completely injured like it's gotten injured every single year, with Joey Porter and this group. And that's what's been really frustrating to see that. The Pittsburgh Steelers, they need a very complimentary offense. George Pickens is frankly in the playoffs, he's not reliable. He's been hurt the last couple of weeks. And that offense, they need wide receivers, they need quarterback, they need something special in Pittsburgh to get over the hump. And there's one guy that can help the Pittsburgh Steelers get over the hump for the foreseeable future, and his name is Jalen Milroe. Now stop laughing. No, I'm dead serious, guys. Yes, it's that inaccurate, that up and down, inconsistent quarterback that Alabama fans don't even want back at Alabama. Yes, it's Jalen Milroe. And the reason why it's Jalen Milroe is because Jalen Milroe is Justin Fields, but he's better. Jalen Milroe throws more consistent footballs than Justin Fields. Jalen Milroe is faster than Fields. Jalen Milroe is an absolute speed demon with the football, and he can absolutely layer in the deep ball as well. So you re-sign Justin Fields, you draft Jalen Milroe later in this draft. That is your most likely case to landing a quarterback that can compete in the AFC. If you put Sam Darnold, by the way, on the Pittsburgh Steelers, they might do a game or two better. If you get Baker Mayfield, they might do a round better. Let me think of the other comparable quarterbacks to like your Russell Wilson. Like if Bo Nix is on the Steelers, like I like Bo Nix. Let me think. If Jaden Daniels, this version of Daniels, I'm still not sure because the Steelers don't have the weapons. So I'm not sure this Jaden Daniels, or I'm not even sure Hurts or a Dak Prescott or a Brock Purdy. The point is that you need some wide receiver, you need some quarterback play. The Steelers try to win with defense, and that's fine. And in fact, the Steelers have done well. They're not an embarrassment. The Steelers have been able to play decent football by playing defensive style ball and by winning in special teams and Chris Boswell and things of that nature. But when you go up against a heavyweight fighter, you get your ass beat. When they play the Chiefs, it's not competitive. When they play the Eagles on the road, their offense will drown immediately. And you saw that in that game. The Steelers defense actually got some, the Steelers defense actually got some fumbles in that game, and they made it work. but the defense has been carrying the offense for a while. Against the Ravens the first time around, the Jets, the Giants, like they've beaten these okay teams. The Washington game is one thing, but when the schedule gets hard, the weather gets colder, the defense is not elite against the best. It's not shutting down the best. And in this era of football with the rules, it's tough for your defense to shine. So Steelers fans are not Jets fans. They're not New York Giants fans. They're not Jaguar fans. They're not Tennessee Titans fans. They've had a very good defensive line. They've had better offensive line play. They are getting better secondary play. They have great special teams. They're down on penalties. They do have good coaching, which is why they are in the playoff race every single year. However, they've never been able to fully get the right combination of quarterback and offensive coordinator and everything. So I believe Arthur Smith's a good coordinator. Russell Wilson's done fine this year, but Russ is slowing down, right? Russ was good in parts, but now Russ is kind of regressing back to an older Russell Wilson. So next year, your real options are you roll with George Pickens again. I believe you go with Fields, and then Milroe is waiting to take in and take over. And because Milroe right now, his stock is down. So you have to land and get a competent quarterback and a competent passing game that can compete. And Milroe, like, if Milroe hits, like, and you have a young quarterback, he'll take the league by storm. I mean, when Lamar Jackson MVP run, when it clicked, it was unbelievable. Even like RG3 was outstanding. You can be an outstanding young quarterback and win playoff games. CJ Stroud did it as a rookie. Big Ben, I believe, second year, won a championship. Phillip Rivers was really young when he took the team over. You can do it as a young quarterback. And when they're young, like even when Patrick Mahomes was young and he was taking the league by storm, the league didn't know how to fully adjust to it. And really, a quarterback's best years can really be between 25 and 29. Frankly. And I think Milroe can play outstanding football. I think that's going to probably be his best football because he's an all right thrower of the ball, but he can be prone to mistakes, but his attributes running the ball are what make him really special. And I mean that in the best way. Like he'll open up the running game. And then Najee Harris is a nice player. He's a great culture guy. But eventually Warren is probably going to take over the spot. But again, they're going to do that in a delicate way. Part of what Tomlin has done so well is that he's able to like attract free agents like Patrick Queen, attract good offensive linemen to come to Pittsburgh. And like with Russell Wilson, even this year, it's still been a very good year. And in the NFC, the Steelers might even win, like maybe in the NFC, if they had to go against Detroit, the NFC's teams are not as good as the AFC's. If we had a tournament, I would take the AFC's teams over the NFC's. So it's the age-old questions of finding a quarterback, you find a passing game, you find a defense, and then you're ready to go. Like Washington right now, their roster is not fully complete. I'll be interested to see like what Washington does and if Jaden Daniels can stack two really good seasons on top of each other, because it's sometimes tough when everybody's singing your praises in the offseason. You have all the hype. You go out, you spend on free agents. Look at Houston. They're a 9-7 team in the same boat, because Houston, they got all of these other pieces, but yet Stroud and the offensive coordinator have not taken that step together. So the Steelers are in a little bit of purgatory, all right, at the position at quarterback, but with Wilson and Fields, they have flexibility to go in multiple directions. I think Tomlin is still the right guy to get this done for sure. And that's what I think about the Pittsburgh Steelers. I really do. So let me know what you guys think. about Pittsburgh and about like where they stand as a football program in the National Football League. It's a lot better than some teams, but another one and done year, and it's just kind of fool's gold and frustrating. And when the lever meets the road and you're trying to play the big boys, it seems like they're a notch below, and I believe it's due to their passing game, and they're going to need to figure out a way forward. And what is the best way from that?